whenever I meet young crew or people who are just starting out and they're like, what do I do? And I was like, well, have you tried busking? Because it might not be for you, because what you've shown me right now is beautiful and delicate, and I would hate for that to be crushed. But also, it's amazing for just being stage ready and also like dealing with people. It's a constant negotiation of like respect with people on the street.
Welcome to the Funny in Failure podcast, a podcast that celebrates failure and shines the light on the emotional side of comedy and life with yours truly, Michael Kahan. Well, today's guest is so upbeat, light, and friendly. We had a brilliant chat. The ease and flow of the conversation was brilliant. Flynn is a wonderful conversationalist with a lot of wonderful stories. I love his energy and passion, and you can see how it comes across in his music and writing. This was an absolute blast. Flynn's on tour now and has a new EP, Gold, which is also out. Check it out in the episode notes below. It's great. Okay, cool. Let's get into it. Flynn Gurry is an Australian singer-songwriter. His brand new single and music video, Bones, is now out to commemorate the upcoming release of Gold. Flynn will also embark on a tour set to stun with his unforgettable live show that has previously seen 4ZZZ praise him as a charismatic performer who knows how to engage an audience. Raised against the coastal backdrop of Warrnambool, Victoria, Flynn Gurry has catapulted from busking on Melbourne streets through to performing with the likes of Ian Moss, King Stingray, and Kim Churchill, to name a few, as a solo artist, while also relentlessly enamouring with his sparkling acoustic guitar work, magnetic pop sensibilities, honeyed vocals, and folk-hued charm. Winning Triple J's Unearthed's One Night Stand competition in 2024, which saw him perform alongside G-Flip, What's So Not, and many more in his hometown in Warrnambool. Flynn has since ticked off being a Triple J Unearthed feature artist, supporting the Dreggs and the Pierce Brothers nationally, appeared on stage at the likes of Beyond the Valley Festival, Port Fairy Festival, Queenscliff Music Festival, and BIGSOUND. He signed with Cult Artists for bookings and Woolstore Music, aka the management company helmed by indie folk icons Pierce Brothers. He also inked a deal with ABC Records in 2025. So as you can imagine, we dive deep and we cover a lot, and we chat about busking and the National Busking Championships, his new EP plus Bones, his great imagination, intuition, playing music for his dad, collaboration, plus plenty more. Before we get into this epic chat, I'd love it if you would share the podcast, like, comment, and subscribe. You know the drill. It really motivates me and helps me grow the podcast and ensures I can lock in amazing guests like this one. Okay, cool. Let's get into it. I'd love to know, I know this was a little while ago, but this is still super interesting to me. Tell me how you got into the National Busking Championships and how that experience was.
Yeah, that was such a long time ago, and busking is really like, you're starting out in music, you don't really know where to play. For me, I was in the country, so there's not like heaps of places that you can kind of play, and so busking's like the next thing to do. And so I'd play out the front of the IGA, the local IGA, on like a Saturday afternoon, and it was great. They're like older elderly people shopping, and then they'd walk out and throw you, sometimes you get a $50 note or whatever. I think
no,
Christmas.
actually, I would have thought like 20 was like a dream come true.
The I played Burke Street a lot, and I still reckon I made more money out the front of that IGA in the regional town on a Saturday afternoon when, the old folks were doing their shopping. But
that's amazing.
Then the National Busking Championships came about because of just doing busking and searching up on the internet to see what was around and where you could busk, and like kind of just looking into it a bit more. And then I found this organization, which I don't know if they're still going, but they basically ran like heats in all different towns all over Australia of like, compete in this town to go make it to the National Busking Championships. And I was like, oh, okay, I'll give that a crack. And so my heat was in Ballarat, and I went to Ballarat, and it was freezing cold, like middle of winter. Didn't take a jumper. Like I just remember being so cold and playing, and ended up winning that Ballarat busking heat thing, and then went on to the championships in Cooma, which was actually wild. Like there was just this small regional town, and it was like the Australian National Busking Championships, and I was like, oh my god, this is crazy. Yeah, being like, I don't know how old I was, 17 maybe. I was like, whoa.
Okay.
Yeah, I was like, whoa, this is wild. Like this is it. Like this is amazing. And yeah, made it to like the final or whatever, and didn't win. But yeah, it was a pretty surreal experience. And still people that were at that festival or championship thing, I still see on the circuit today, and they're still touring, and that's pretty amazing. So yeah, it was a pretty wild kind of experience, and I felt like a rock star because I was going to Cooma.
I don't even know where that is.
It's like regional New South Wales somewhere.
Oh, were you driving everywhere or flying?
My parents drove me. We were like, this is such a big deal. We're gonna drive to Cooma together, and yeah, it was amazing. It's like a family holiday.
Yeah, and you were, and you probably still are, in Warrnambool. So how far away is Warrnambool to Ballarat and then to Cooma?
Ballarat's like 2.5 hours from Warrnambool, and then Cooma. I can't even remember. I reckon it's up near sort of Canberra, so it'd be a good, over 6-7 hours.
Yeah, I was just thinking that.
Yeah,
those you've got good parents, so that's also, I love that. That's crazy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when we were like growing up, I didn't pick up music until a bit later, and I've got siblings, and we all played basketball and played squad basketball, and we would travel around. It was like 6 weekends a year per child, so there was like 10 or 12 weekends a year that we were traveling to Bendigo or all these different regional places to play these basketball tournaments for our hometown. And so actually traveling for things wasn't the biggest out of nowhere. It was like, oh yeah, you got this thing, all right, let's go. And only now, looking back, it's like, wow, my parents did that. That's pretty amazing.
That's awesome. I like how you're like, oh, just something we did. Your poor parents like, damn, another basketball tournament, but at least with the National Busking Championship. That's really cool. I'm surprised that this was the infrastructure involved. Were you just like Googling? Like, how did you say you found it? Because I've never heard of it before.
No, and either had I until I was right in the thick of it. But it was, I think it maybe came across on like social media, maybe. The algorithm just served it up on a platter for me. I was looking at buskers. I was looking at the buskers in Melbourne from a few years ago, which was like people like Pierce Brothers and Tash Sultana and Tones and I and whatnot. And so I was really like, busking is the way that I'm going to forge my path. So I was really committed to like trying to figure out how busking would work for me, and searching on the internet, and then found that. And I was like, well, if I win that, I'm
set. Yeah. You get an Australian Idol, win it, like season 1, like Guy Sebastian and Shandon Noel. Have you ever considered, I got so many questions about busking, but have you ever tried for Australian Idol?
No, I've been approached a few times on DMs.
Wow.
Yeah, they reached out to my management, the last one. I'm not sure which show, but there's something about it that doesn't sit so well with me. I think that's amazing that people have built careers from it and all the rest. And there's some amazing singers, and I think it's such a, it's so hard coming up and trying to find out what to do next. And I think I was just so lucky to like meet some really kind of, I don't know, like road dogs that just tour and tour, and that's how they've built their career. And that for me was the holy grail. Was like, well, you just keep touring and you just keep playing shows and you keep getting better at your craft. And there's something about the TV show that the 5 minutes of fame doesn't quite. I don't know why it doesn't connect, but yeah, I don't think I would do it.
It's really interesting. There was a guy at my school, loveliest guy. He barely spoke a word. And then one day he sung in front of the whole school, and we were like absolutely shocked because he had the most, and probably still does, the most incredible voice. And it was also so funny where you're like, where did that come from? Like, and also it was completely different to his voice as well. And then we started listening to him sing, and he's extremely talented. And I'd be like, why don't you go on Australian Idol? And he'd give a similar response. And I always found that so interesting because I'm not in the space whatsoever. But there's also, as you said, there could be 5 minutes of fame, and potentially these are sort of things he said where, you know, you're like hot for a minute and then it doesn't really lead to longevity, and that it's not so much the artistic thing that he craves. I don't know if it was a little bit of,
And there's that element of like, I know if probably I went on Australian Idol or something, it would be, you know, Flynn Gurry, the busker from the country town, which is cool. But I don't know. There's something about like the narrative being taken out of your hands that would be like quite scary. I imagine. Like you don't know. Like TV is such an interesting world of like, you know, ratings and views and all this kind of stuff that like you just, you know, they decide what you.
It is really interesting, and you can't control other people's narratives, but at the same time, you can still control what you want to do. And they're just going to pick bits of your life where they want to, you know, sell it, because it's not an artistic thing; it's a money-making thing as well. And so it seems like you're a pure artist. You want to be in an environment that fosters growth. You want to do this for the long term. It's something that you love, and we'll talk about how you got into it. And then you have something, and I'm not bagging Australian Idol, but something like Australian Idol is a money-making scheme. Like, okay, you did busking, you did this. This is what this is who you are. You have to be this person. And also from the growth perspective, when they, you know, assuming which you would progress all the way through, they're going to be like, you lean into this. And it can also take away from your voice and who you are. Like, this is who we want you to be. And that can also be scary because what springs to mind?
Yeah. And I think for me personally, like the vocalists that I hear on them shows, I'm like, that's not like, that's what they're doing is absolutely amazing. And the way they sing is phenomenal. And I think that I can sing, but not to that level. And my whole, it's kind of, I think of my artist project as more of a whole thing, you know, it's the energy on stage, it's the guitar playing, it's the singing, it's the foot percussion situation, you know, it's a whole kind of like, it's more of a vehicle than just my voice. I think
the whole package.
Yeah. So, and I think that's what I'd be scared about, getting lost or something, you know?
Yeah. And as I was saying, and then I'll go into the busking. I've heard, you know, whether I've spoken to people in real life or just, you know, listening to interviews and stuff, when when they think they know who you are, they're like, no, this is your lane. And as someone like yourself, who I've heard you talk about growing and evolving and exploring all aspects of yourself, that might not necessarily nurture, could hinder, you know, an artist like you. So I completely get it. From the busking side, how do they determine the winners? Was it about like crowd impact? I'm so interested.
Yeah. I have also since, like over the years, worked with like the local council back home and run some busking competitions like around different weekends and put criteria together. And, you know, busking's such a funny one because it's not necessarily the best song wins. It's almost like who is the best circus act on the street that can pull in all the people. And, you know, some genres of music or some styles just don't actually really work that well on the street. And so I think a lot of the criteria is about, you know, musicianship and the songs, but then there's such a big element of like crowd involvement and being able to draw a crowd and then having them stay there and whatnot. So
of course,
it's a big, which at that championship thing, I remember there was like, you know, there's like I don't know, 30 buskers on one little street. It's like, how do you, there's like, there's like
At
more,
the same time? Or
yeah, there was like more buskers than there was like people. So it was like, I remember it being like really funny. Like, you know, it just being like, how do we, like, I've got mum and dad here, but you know, who else is good? Like
you win.
everyone's yeah.
Just by having them.
Yeah. So yeah, it's a funny one.
That's so funny. Did you find, because also it's really smart, you trying to, you know, find your way and how can people see you and get into busking? That's genius. Did you find you massively improved? Because you're dealing with people that don't really care, don't want to make eye contact, are scared that if they look at you for too long, they have to give you money, all of these things. Did you find you improved as a performer?
Yeah, busking's such a incredible tool to improve like so quickly. You know that
nice.
There's that sort of theory of like, you know, one stage performance is worth like 10 rehearsals or whatever it is. And I think that's the same with busking, because you're like, you know, you're playing to people who are just going to work. And so it's like something needs to happen for them to stop. The song needs to be amazing, or, you know, you need I don't know. There was one guy on Burke Street that was telling me he used to have a chicken in a pen next to him playing. And I was like, yeah, that's
wild. I saw someone on Burke Street, or near Burke Street. There was a busker, but as I was walking away, I saw someone at like a coffee shop feeding a rat. In a cage.
The things that I've seen on Burke Street, it's like I once saw someone like catch a pigeon in front of me, and I just didn't know what to do. It was like I was like he just plucked it out of the air, like it just started ascending, and he just and I was like, wow.
What a talent. Should be a goalkeeper. What did he do with the pigeon? Or was it just to test his reflexes?
I don't know. I think he let it go.
I hope so.
So many things. Like, Burke Street, like the last few years, has been really an interesting time. Like the heckles that I get is really fun. Yeah. Like people, you know, there's particularly busking in Melbourne, there's like filters are down. It's just like you're just someone standing there playing the guitar, open for, you know, I've got some really funny comments, like the worst Ed Sheeran wannabe they've ever heard, and
wait, to your face or the
just scream. Often these people are maybe had a big night, or they're kind of
you're very kind. It's wild to me. Well, sorry, while you're thinking, it's wild to me to basically post the comment in person. Like you're seeing someone trying. You could be like, look, I don't like your performance. By the way, I've seen so many of your videos and stuff. You're an amazing performer. But it's wild to me to scream at someone who's being vulnerable and to say something like that.
Yeah, it's amazing. Like there's a crew of buskers kind of on Burke, and we're all friends and whatever.
Oh,
and
nice.
Sometimes we'll get stuff online that like is like, you know, oh, this sounds really bad or whatever. But it just means like, it's just, you know, nothing compared to the stuff that you can get on Burke Street. It could be like some days you go like, oh guys, I'm just having a go. Like,
yeah, wow.
So,
I'm sure you get way more positive, obviously. And
yeah.
I've written down like 50 points. Don't worry, the whole podcast is not going to be on this. I just think it's amazing that you put yourself out there. You go on Burke Street with all these crazy people, keep on doing it, you improve, you grow, you see that this is a pathway to, you know, longevity and success. I love it. Now going back to my my many thousand questions. Does things like that impact your confidence? You're like, whatever, it is what it is.
Yeah, absolutely. Like for better and for worse, you know, you can have a song that you really believe in and you take it to the street and it has an amazing response and you feel on top of the world. You're like, yep, this is it. This is the song, man. This is the song. And then it goes the opposite way and you're like, oh, what am I even doing this for? But I find for me, busking is really, I find it really enjoyable when I can have a balance with playing shows on the weekend. Like I love busking during the week and playing shows on the weekend. There was one patch where I was touring with who was it? Ian Moss from Cold Chisel, and I was playing these massive theatre shows on the weekend, and then during the week I was busking, and it was this like I could really enjoy both things.
Yep.
A little bit more just because I had the two worlds happening. And so, yeah, like something that works in a, pin drop silent theatre doesn't work on Burke Street, but something that works on Burke Street won't work in the theatre, So
it's crazy.
That was really fun to experiment with new, stage techniques or crowd engagement or whatever it was. So
that's really interesting. Cool. It's like one of my friends is a DJ. And so if he plays, obviously this makes sense, but, if he plays certain music at a wedding as opposed to a club, as opposed to, a function, and it's completely different. And so he's become amazing at like learning different crowds and stuff, which is obviously an essential skill for you as well. So that would have been really great for your growth and performing.
Yeah, it's amazing. And I like whenever I meet young crew or people who are just starting out and they're like, what do I do? And I was like, well, have you tried busking? Because it might not be for you, because what you've shown me right now is beautiful and delicate, and I would hate for that to be crushed. But, also it's amazing for just being stage ready and also like dealing with people, it's a constant negotiation of like respect with people on the street. You like some people are homeless, some people are just trying to sleep during the day, and you've got your speaker cranked, and there's like some conversations to be had there, and how can we both exist in this small space that the council has given us,
of course, because you need permission, right?
Yeah.
And you have to pick an area, yeah.
And so, there's so many like great skills that come from busking that are so important, I find,
I never thought about it like this. That's amazing. And also resilience as well from all the things that you've said. That would have been fantastic.
Yeah. I can tell you one story. Do you want to tell you one story?
Yeah. Tell me as many as that come through.
This is the scariest busking story that happened. I'd been busking for like years, I'd done lots of Burke Street, and there was this one time where I'd rocked up with my mate, and he was playing the floor tom, and so we were much louder than what I usually am, just with guitar and stomp box. And there was a guy sleeping on the steps, and that was fine. We got there, started playing. He was kind of smiling, happy, and then he kept trying to sleep, and we're obviously quite loud. And then he started to become quite vocal, and then it got to the point where we were playing, there was a big crowd, and he's come through the crowd, grabbed my mic stand, and just like just going like ham, and it was
like smashing it or just grabbing it.
No, grabbing it and like going at me, like he was coming for me, and I stupidly took my most expensive guitar out that day. When I bought it, I was told myself I would never take this busking, and I took it out, and I'm trying to protect this guitar. And then it was so wonderful because like we had such a big crowd, and the crowd kind of just like circled us, and he kind of calmed down. Yeah, it was like, it was amazing. And then he left, and kind of the police were called and all the rest. But it was like, that was scary that day.
Yeah, of course, because also you feel threatened as well. You're also like shocked, and you like probably got a bit of fight or flight. And then you're like, my poor guitar, and also the mic stand and the mic, that's expensive. You don't look like a guy that's been in many fights or anything. You're just
I'm not a fighter. No, I'm not a fighter. And my poor mate, he flight response. He was halfway up Swanson Street by the time I turned around, and he come running back, and he's like, "You're all right?" I'm like, "Yeah, where'd you go?" He's like, "Well, it was either me or you."
I hope you bring it up every single time he annoys you.
It's a touchy subject.
You're a good man. I also like that the crowd supported you as well. Last question on that, and I might come back, but I just think this is amazing. I think this is great for your journey as well. dealing with the silence. There would be days where people don't want to look at you. They're walking around. Maybe you're not in a great mood or mindset and things aren't working. How did you deal with that?
Yeah. So I think I probably learnt this trick earlier on than busking, because what happens when you play guitar in a small town is the publican rings you up and goes, so you can play guitar, can you? Right, you go underneath that tab screen and you'll play 3 hours of songs that people want to hear, and that'll be great. And
wow,
country towns on Friday nights, the Friday night gig during winter is a pretty lonely spot. You're playing to empty rooms. And one thing I learned during them shows was to close my eyes, because when I close my eyes, I can kind of be anywhere. I have a really strong imagination.
Oh, that's amazing.
And so something that I learned during them shows was, if I shut my eyes, I'm not actually in this pub with no one in it. I'm, playing Wembley or something. It's like, it's cool. And so I think busking, some days are brutal. I remember the first day I got my license, you have to audition for Burke Street. And
what?
Yeah, it's like a whole process.
And who is this? The council that you audition, or is it?
It's council ran, and you have to audition, and you have to. It's a whole, it's a process. And I remember my first day, I went and I made like $28, and I'd been playing for like 4 hours, and I was like, I don't know if this is for me. And the next day, went back, and it wasn't that. It was amazing, but yeah, busking when it's tough can be a bit soul crushing, But
good on you for good on you for getting back up. The first time didn't go to plan, and then you got up the second time. That's amazing. Sometimes you can be scarred and say nah.
And I talk to buskers, and we're kind of like always trying to figure out what day works in what spot and what kind of event works for our act. Like you try and overthink it, but sometimes there's just a feeling in the city, and you go, nah, people aren't vibing this today, and that's cool. And yeah, now that I'm a bit older and I'm not busking as much anymore, them days now, probably I go home a bit earlier than what I used to.
You got what you needed. Yeah. I cut you off before. You were saying, but when we were talking about the auditions and getting up and the silence, or was that part of what you were just saying?
Yeah, it was definitely shut your eyes and Wembley. Yeah. So that helps on the tough days.
Where did you develop? You said you were taught it or you learnt it, because that's an incredible skill. Is this something? Have you always been a very creative person? Has your imagination always been like this? This is so fascinating to me.
To be completely honest, my imagine is such a funny one that as I kind of got older and then got into my early 20s, and I started to realize that you start to lose your imagination as you get older, but I kind of don't feel like I have.
Oh, that's amazing.
And I think like a lot of my songwriting is like these stories. Some of them are made up stories, and that's kind of part of because the imagination is there, and I'm just thinking about it, and I'm a very visual, like I can remember faces in my head. And so when I'm like shut my eyes and I'm playing at a gig, I can, I've watched enough YouTube of Ed Sheeran playing Wembley or something, I can like imagine that in my head.
So you're a good manifester. If you can see it and feel it, that's how these things.
Yeah. And then I open my eyes and some bloke's coming at me with a mic stand. I go, oh no, open your eyes, Flynn, open your eyes.
Why are the police coming quicker?
Yeah.
It's really interesting about the imagination, because as you said, a lot of people lose it, and that becomes through various factors. The ones that spring to mind is, which you don't have, parents like, no, you got to get a real job. School can take the creativity out of you. People don't necessarily value creativity, and I understand. All of these things, as we get older, take us kind of away from that creative journey or pursuit, whatever you want to call it. It sounds like you've had great people or environments along the way. Has that been the case for you?
Yeah, completely. Like my parents too have like been so supportive of just like diving right into just being a musician full time. And
Wow.
I didn't really um understand how amazing that was until I've gotten a bit older and realized that, oh no, some parents are kind of like, no, maybe you should go to university.
Yeah.
Like maybe you should get in, you know? And so I think just my parents being in that place, or like feeling my parents in that spot where they're just kind of like, yeah, just do you, man. Like, so it's kind of like, that's probably really helpful. And I love being playful. Like being playful is like my favorite thing. I love having a joke. I love having a laugh. Like my favorite thing to do on stage is kind of to tell a joke and then play a really sad song. And kind of like, I love that.
The contrast. Yeah.
Yeah. I love the contrast of stuff. And you know, a lot of my life is just like, I feel like I'm just having a big old play. It's just, sometimes I'm like, what are you doing? So that's kind
amazing.
of how I live. Yeah.
Play is, I've spoken about this 100 times. I think it's the most important thing that we can, cultivate in our life. It's never discussed. I never had anyone say you can play and have fun. It was just like a taboo topic in a sense. Is that from the same thing, or you just realize that, life's kind of short? Let's play.
Yeah, like definitely that. And just, I just follow what feels good. And so I just like feel good when I'm having fun in that way. And then when I've thought more deeply about it, that John Cleese, he did that speech on, or that bit on play and stop, and
Yep.
it was amazing. And then there's been lots of great writers that have written about it, and I find the Rick Rubin book, and he talks about play and kind of letting things in and yeah, just experimenting. And
I don't know how you know this or mastered this at such a young age. I'm envious of you. That's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I think I just follow what feels good. I think that's what's really strong. That's like the strongest feeling I have about the way that I kind of live, is just like, I do what makes me feel good, and that's kind of working so far.
Outside of heroin, I love that. That's amazing. So is this like a guiding principle for you? Like, let's say your mate's like, we're going to do this, and if it feels right, you're going to do it. If not, you're not going to do it. Or you just get an idea and like, I have to follow this until completion.
No, I think the first one, like I find I have my, like, what's it called? Like intuition.
Yeah,
where you get the feeling of something. I find that as I'm getting older, I'm trusting that more. And maybe there was definitely some earlier things where I was like, that's fun, and I'm going to go full throttle into that, and kind of then you get in there and you're like, well, I don't know if this is the vibe, but definitely now, as I'm trusting that, following the feeling of enjoyment and what I think would be fun and playful to me is like great. I love it.
You've discovered the keys to life. I think it's so crucial, and it's like a guiding thing in our life. It's so important. And the more you listen to it, the better you can hear it, feel it, do it, all of that stuff. And it sounds like you haven't had people to pull you away from that as well.
Yeah, and my like close friend group as well is like, we're all creatives, chasing a dream, or like, yeah, doing it. We're in it together almost. We're all in like different creative industries, but we're all kind of in that same spot where you just like, we're like in our 20s. Like, let's go. Yeah, let's go to London and try that. Or so it's like, yeah, it's very much that mindset.
That's very important. I had, not to that degree, friends that were all pursuing different things. And definitely life is easier and better when you have groups like that, where it's supportive. It sounds like you've got like a shared success thing. So if one of your friends does well, it doesn't impact you in the slightest. That also means you reap the rewards in terms of seeing what's possible, seeing how the person done it. And I think that's amazing. We're often in life where we don't really have that type of mindset. And so I think that's so great, because you kind of are who you surround yourself with. So I'm glad that you've got this great group.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think you hit the nail on the head there.
How does it come to play with your songwriting as well? And I've got a few examples of how you've done songwriting as well and some of the songs you've written. But can you tell me about how intuition plays a role in that?
Yeah. I write a lot on, what do I write a lot on? A lot of the stuff I write on is very nostalgic, very playful. I love stories. Like I just have these really strong memories of growing up and my grandfather telling stories around the kitchen table, having a cup of tea. And I remember, like, I mean, he's still alive and he still does it, but like him just holding the room and everyone being kind of like, on every
Mesmerized.
word. Yeah, he says. And because I grew up in Warrnambool, not far from Warrnambool is a place called Port Fairy, which has the Port Fairy Folk Festival, which is for the Southwest, it's a really big deal. It's like the Glastonbury of Southwest Victoria. And, so I grew up watching like these songwriters from all over the world come to Port Fairy and share their songs. And that influenced me so much in my songwriting that I'm seeing now, which is like, it's very story based. I love a dark story with playful music. That's kind of like my vibe as well, that I'm really leaning into and really enjoying doing. But yeah.
Bones had that as well, I think.
Yeah.
I'm so bad at hearing the lyrics, but yours was clear. Every time, like, I think I'm hearing a lyric and my wife's like, no, those aren't the lyrics. But I think I got it right with Bones. Bones is an absolute... I never, like, give compliments on the podcast because I don't know, like, where to go with that, if that makes sense. But Bones, what a banger. I loved it. What a good song, and that upbeat. Also, you've probably... And I know Mumford & Sons is one of your... inspirations. You've got them, and they're my favorite. And I love Mumford & Sons. You've also got a little bit of Ed Sheeran. I don't know if anyone's ever told you that, and a little bit of Imagine Dragons, who I also like.
Yeah. I've listened to all bands that I've listened to a lot. The Ed Sheeran I've never got, apart from that the homeless person who's like, you're the worst Ed Sheeran wannabe.
There's elements. Yeah. I can see a bit. I don't know. It's not like a tangible thing. It's like a feeling thing. I can see like the way that you present yourself and stuff. Yeah.
But I went and saw his show and was just mesmerized. Like I was like, I hadn't seen him, and this sometimes being, like a singer-songwriter and people are like, Ed, yeah, nah.
Yeah, because he's so big. We hate on the big guys.
Yeah, but I don't really care for that. So I went and saw him and had a great time. It was wild. Like, what a show.
Beautiful.
Holy smokes. And I haven't seen Mumford & Sons yet, but
they're coming.
I know. I'm playing my headline show, my Melbourne headline show, the night they're doing their headline show, and I feel
congratulations.
Yeah, I feel like if there's ever a crossover between two worlds,
yeah. But I'm
it's
sure maybe they can get you for one of their other shows as well. And Imagine Dragons, have you listened much to them?
That was like maybe that was like year 11, year 12. I was smashing Imagine Dragons. Yeah,
I had a Spotify thing. So of that one album, I don't know anything since then, but I love that one album. Yeah. How do you go? So I do screenwriting. So it's not the same, but sometimes when I go to a comedy show, I can already see where they're going and I'm analyzing it. Mm-hmm. When I watch a TV show, sometimes I've been like, they missed the mark. They should have done that. That doesn't quite make sense. And sometimes I can pull myself away from it. I'm getting better at it. How are you at a show like Ed Sheeran? Are you like, how did he do that? What did he do? Or are you able to enjoy it and like put that stuff to the side?
Yeah, what I've found in the last couple of years is definitely, if maybe it's not like completely tickling my fancy, I am analyzing it. And like when I'm not just like fanboying over it, I'm like, yeah, working out what they're doing. And there was definitely moments in Ed's set where I was trying to figure out what was going on, or I was like, oh, I can hear that they're doing this thing, and I can hear that they're doing the guitar like this, or mixing the vocal like this, or he's, that's cool, and all the rest. But yeah, then there was also moments where I was just like looked around and I was like, there's so many people here. I can't even, quantify what is going on right now. Like, how is this even possible that one guy with these singer-songwriter songs can do this? But, when I'm watching shows, yeah, it's kind of like my measure of now. It's like my measure of, oh, did I really, really enjoy that? If I like didn't think about whether I analyzed it or not. So
it's a great take.
It's kind of like I haven't got to like where you're at, where I'm like being able to actually be in something and go, stop analyzing it, Flynn. Like, I find that just happens.
Yeah. It's not like sometimes I'm not conscious of it. It happens afterwards.
Yeah.
Do you see someone like Ed Sheeran and be like, he's done that, the possibilities are endless? Does it inspire you knowing that, that could be you one day?
Yeah. With also in the same kind of breath that like the music industry is very funny and fickle, and there's a lot of things to fall your way that kind of decide that. And so I'm also like, I'm ready for the opportunities when they come, but sometimes things just have to fall your way. And
that's very mature. I'm shocked to hear that. That's great.
Then also like when I hear people talk about like Nepo babies or industry plants, and I go, who was it? Who have they spoken about? Oh, maybe even like Olivia Dean. I've heard some things like,
I don't know anything
plant or whatever. And I go, yeah, but have you heard the songs she writes and her voice? Like, I think it's all well and good to be a Nepo baby or an industry plant, but if you don't have the actual skill and kind of work ethic and the, take the opportunity, then like, yeah.
This is
so I think it's kind of invalid. Yeah.
I agree. This is one of my pet peeves. Maybe like from a corporate sense, but you'll get found out. Even if your parents are like Brad Pitt and Leonardo DiCaprio, like in acting, yes, you might get roles that potentially there might have been someone better. But to hold that and to be doing this for a long term, you get found out. If you're not good, you're not going to last. Like it will impact movies, music, especially with music. If you can't sing, you can't perform, you're going to get caught out right there. So yeah, there may have been a bit of a leg up, which everyone has legs up in different degrees.
Yeah. Yep.
And I hate that narrative. That being said, I have no family, no one in this industry. But if I was a parent and I would 100% get my child, I'll try and help him as much as possible. That's love. Like, be proud that someone's trying to help him. But yeah, that's my unpopular take.
My mum's a hairdresser. If I wanted to go into hairdressing, I feel like I would have a leg up in hairdressing.
Yeah. But you also have to be a good hairdresser. You butcher a few haircuts.
You're done. Especially in Warrnambool, you get a reputation that good. You're done. It's over. Walk away.
Exactly. I'm glad. I don't know why this is an unpopular opinion. I'm glad that we could share it together.
Yeah.
You have to keep on performing. I want to go back to your parents as well, because they sound super supportive, and I had in my notes before that they would take you guys out and they were very encouraging. Did they play music? Were they into music, or they just love their kids having a good time?
They don't play music or kind of sing. They love music, and they took us kids to Port Fairy Folk Festival every year when we were really little. And we had on, like, I remember in the house, so in Dad's car, it was, the two CDs was Jack Johnson and John Butler Trio. And in Mum's car was Casey Chambers and the Waifs, which is really funny because a lot of people that I meet now, a lot of their parents' bands loved like Kiss or, whatever it was. But I just remember the house being full of like all Australian bands like Missy Higgins and,
wow.
It's a really interesting, when I think back to it, that like Mum and Dad were just so into Aussie music. I found that really, lots of Paul Kelly and all of that. in saying that, mum's like very creative. There's always like she's always got a creative venture happening.
You
like,
have to be also
Yeah.
to be a hairdresser. That's quite a creative job as well.
Yeah. And she's like done things like she was making these massive weaving kind of like situation thing. And, you know, it's pretty cool. Like when I go home and I'm like, what are you up to, mum? And she's like got everything sprawled out on the kitchen table, you know. And then my dad, who is actually also, you know, he's a bit more of the, you know, country fella. Like he kind of stands at the back of the gigs and he's kind of like this. But he also was a tailor by trade. Like that's what he learned. There used to be a place called Fletcher Jones, which made clothes for everyone. And that was in Warrnambool. And he got a job in the cutting room. And so you had to do an apprenticeship and yada, yada. And so like none of his friends or none of my friends know that dad's this like amazing person with like, he made some of mum's dresses and like, yeah, amazing stuff. And also dad's someone who I show my music to kind of first as well. That's find amazing. He's got really good taste and mum's got great taste, but mum's very biased by the story. If it's a story about like references the family, mum's like, that's it. And I'm like, no, it just said brother in it. And it's not even my brother, you know. But mum's like, oh my God. And whereas dad's like, you know, it doesn't matter if it's slow or fast or what dad's just like, yeah, I find a great person to take songs to and if he likes it, he doesn't really say much, but he goes, put it on again. And I go, all right. You know.
Is it nerve-wracking playing something to him? Or you find
No, it is nerve-wracking because I'm devastated when he doesn't say put it on again or whatever it is. Like,
you know his tells.
It's which has happened a few times. You know, a few not so good songs in amongst things like Bones.
Oh, so did he like Bones?
Yeah, he liked Bones. Yeah. He liked the EP. Yeah.
I was wondering, like, if he's like, don't like Bones, you then go back, cook up, and like you change it, then he comes back and go, this is a banger. Or if he doesn't like it, do you stop it there, or do you try and work on it?
Yeah, probably I try and work on it and think about like, why isn't it ready yet? Maybe just like the melodies aren't committed enough yet and sung with confidence enough yet. Like sometimes I find that's a thing, like, because I can hear it in my head better than what it comes out. And so, you know, like people hear conviction, you know, like you sing with conviction and people are like, that's great. And if you don't, it's a bit shaky and you go, I don't know why this doesn't feel good, but it doesn't feel good. And so also showing people music, I find, and like dad, sometimes if I really, really believe in it and then I get the response that they maybe don't enjoy it or it's not their favorite thing they've heard, I either one or two things, like I kind of go, oh yeah, I knew that probably wasn't my best. I probably know that. Or I go, no, I know this is a great song. I know this just needs this, and this. And so it's usually like, that's really helpful as well.
That's amazing. And also sometimes when I don't share my ideas with everyone until it's more fully formed, because at that baby stage, there's a book called Big Magic, which is similar to kind of the topics you've spoken about, where it's all about nurturing an idea and where ideas come from or however you want to see it. And sometimes, and this has nothing to do with your family, I'm just saying, when I get an idea with screenwriting, if I bring it up too early to some people, they can try, and they're doing it out of love, they can try and go, put it in this direction or do that. And it's too early to share it, so you don't get to develop the baby. And so most of the time now with my ideas, I let it just grow and nurture a little bit. But also that being said, with songwriting and creating music, it's pretty fully formed, you know, to a degree. It's not just
once you commit to a melody, it's like pretty much there. So but yeah, that's super. Yeah, it's definitely there's a sweet spot where to show people, I find. That's like, Sometimes a miss, but sometimes, yeah, perfect.
Yeah, I haven't got it right, but I'm very careful of who I share my early ideas with because I know that it's in that baby stage and I know that there's still work to be done. And sometimes you can come back to it. And also, for me, not everyone is going to be good for a certain script or maybe podcast topic or whatever it is. So, navigating that is a skill. Because I used to be someone who would share no one ever said this, but I'm sure many years ago, I don't have this now, at least 50 like close friends, people that I was WhatsApping, and that is way too many. Like you can have 50 friends, but they can't be close friends. And so I would share with everyone, and then you just have too many cooks in the kitchen, it just doesn't work. How do you go? Actually, I'm jumping the gun here with collaboration because I know you've got you're working. Is Pat Pierce is your manager, I believe.
Yeah. Pat Pierce is my manager.
Yeah, and Jack is lovely. I've spoken to him a lot, and hopefully they come on the podcast. If they're listening, you're always invited. And with collaboration, I think this is so crucial in life and also especially in the artistic career as well. You mentioned in one of your interviews you changed producers. You don't need to name them. I don't care about that stuff. But then you found another collaborator or another producer. What does the right collaboration look like for you?
Yeah, the role of a producer is so important. Like it's so important, and not from like what I find. There's so many amazing music makers, but that's not necessarily what I'm looking for when I'm like picking a producer. It's like both. What have I worked with? Like maybe 3 or 4 producers that I've worked with that the songs have then come out, and all of them, like in that moment, I like really needed them in my life and in helping in that music. The first kind of body of work that I put out, it was a guy called Jan Skubaszewski, who was like my dream producer. Like I'd written him on my like, who do you want to work with? And
do you have like a board or something?
Yeah, I have like a board of like people I want to work with or whatever. And I remember that being like, he was top because he'd made all my favorite records. He'd made a lot of the John Butler records and Cat Empire and a lot of these great records. And then through COVID, we became connected through this, what was it? It was like this kind of helping emerging acts get mentoring. And I got mentored by his ex-manager at the time. And he was like, let me connect you two and see if he might want to make some music. And I went and made some music with him. And it was such a wonderful experience. Like I was so new to music. I didn't know anything. I was so starstruck just being in the room that had created these sounds. And like, he was so lovely. And I'm so lucky that I had that kind of experience early on where he kind of explained to me what the role of a producer is, which is kind of like you're the people person, the dynamic in a band. You're kind of like managing the band and the emotions in the room and all this sort of stuff. And so, yeah, then working with Joel and Edwin for Bones and some of these other songs, that was just so fun. Like I was just like feeling pretty confident in what I had, like the songs that I had, and I felt like they were going to come together pretty kind of easily. And I was like looking to just bring so much energy and fun to the studio, and they were just like, let's go, and so amazing. I had such a fun time making music with them, and ultimately it's like one of the, this body of work I'm really happy with, and like, wow, I'm really proud of that. And so the producer you can't just go to a producer. Well, my opinion, you can't just go to a producer just because you like their stuff. It's like got to be an emotional fit, or there's got to be a relationship that forms, and it's really, really important.
That's so interesting. Conrad Sewell has been on the podcast. Brilliant singer. Yeah, my God. Yeah. I'm blown away by his voice. And also he's a great songwriter as well. And I could be wrong, so people please, this is not a shameless plug, listen to the podcast because I probably got this wrong. I think one of his dream people to work with was like maybe a manager or a producer of Pharrell Williams, and he was so excited to work with this person. I could be wrong. Anyway, and then
Pharrell does lots of producer stuff, and apparently is amazing.
I don't know if it was Pharrell or Pharrell's someone that worked with Pharrell Williams that worked with him on his albums or whatever. Yeah. And this was a dream like come true in a sense. And then they meet there and the guy, I don't think it really clicked. He wasn't really involved. And I'm like, he learns a lot from this, but it shows the importance of collaboration. Also, you spoke about that emotional connection as well. This person could be an amazing at what they do and so good, but if you don't have that connection, they're not right for you. It might be someone who doesn't have the experience or does have experience, but not at that level. But if you don't have that connection, it can kind of be doomed to not succeed. And so I just found that so interesting where this is the guy that you want to work with and then it doesn't work out. So what is bad? I'm sure you've had it. It could be literally a conversation or maybe someone wants to sign you or just something. You don't need to give names. But what does bad collaboration look like to you?
I think you kind of maybe want to make music for different reasons. That's a big one. For me, I've been in I ended up in a manager contract in Europe that didn't go so well, that didn't leave me so happy. And yeah, when you come from different places of like how you see the music industry or whatever, that can be tough. But then there's also, again, I love like playful energy and that being the driving factor, like having fun in the studio. And so for me, someone who maybe has been around for a long time, has worked with all these incredible artists, but maybe like some people as well have been around that like maybe that spark has dwindled a little bit as well. And that's something that I don't click with so much. I love the energy that you get off people.
Yeah.
And and so the people that I do work with, I love that, feeding off that energy. And so that's where I know the people that I don't want to work with, it's like, I'm clashing there.
Yeah, how do you have this self-awareness? That's amazing. I'll give you an example. I've spoken about this before, but I'll give you just like a summary. I got offered a TV developmental deal in LA, and one of them is a big actor, done so much stuff. And I was like, oh my God. I ignored all of these signs about the passion and the enjoyment. I was like, I'm just going to get a TV show made. This is what you need to do. I learned a lot about the industry. I wrote a few notes, but you could just see that there wasn't the passion. It was purely a money-making thing. And yes, there may have been some creative joy from it, but it wasn't the number one purpose. Obviously, we do want to be wealthy and have all the things that we want, but that's not the number one driving factor. And I remember saying like to them, if I was offered, I think I said $1 million, it could have been $1 billion. I know there's a big difference, so people don't laugh at me. But I think I said I was offered $1 million today to take the script and then someone can do it. I would say no. And they thought I was joking and they burst out laughing because they thought it was a joke. And I'm like, no, I'm being 100% serious. And I should have realized in that moment we had different values for or view of how we wanted to succeed. And so luckily it didn't work out because that contract would have been horribly messy. It would have been terrible. I would have been stuck. I don't think it would have succeeded. You can only share what you want to, and if you want to change topics, it's fine. When you get presented potentially with a contract in Europe and you realize you're not on the same page, is that kind of hard to deal with? Because for me, this was so stressful. How am I going to navigate this? And I kept on making excuses. No, it could work. And then I realized that afterwards, especially, these aren't in alignment with my values. And now I'm so much stronger for my why and what I want to achieve. Did you have any?
Yeah. I mean, I'm still friends with this person who I was in a contract with, and which is great. It was just, I remember it was like the first kind of industry person that was like really interested. And it wasn't as though they were someone who was happening in the industry, like they were doing this and this and this. They were kind of someone who had been in the industry, a strong player in the industry a few years prior, and then they were kind of getting back in. And so I was just like that. When I talk about that intuition thing, I think about that time in Europe, because I had that feeling and I then suppressed it because I was too excited. And
exactly the same with me. Smart.
Suppressed it, too excited, jumped head first. And I'm really lucky that, you know, they were a lovely person and it didn't end up super messy. Like it ended quite naturally, and we both agreed that, yeah, this actually isn't going to work. But it could have ended really badly because the contract stated that, you know, if it was to end, it would have ended really badly.
Yeah.
And so they were like, no, I'm not going to honor that. So it was actually really wonderful that they didn't take me to the cleaners or anything like that. So it ended up fine, but it was such a lesson of like, oh, that feeling you had, you've got to like, let's listen to that a bit more.
Oh, I love that. And I'm glad that it worked out in the sense, yes, I'm sure it was quite stressful in the moment, but the skills that you learned afterwards, and they didn't screw you over, and you somehow kept, you know, a friendship. That's because sometimes with these things, like for me, it was super stressful, and you could just be like, I don't want to deal with it. But, you know, you said a few things that you've learned, and I think that's great because it's not always going to be sunshine and rainbows. You've alluded to the industry being quite fickle, and you know, not everyone has the purest of intentions. It's a money-making business as well. So it's a great kind of lesson for you to navigate, you know, this path.
I think it's like been interesting then navigating, like trying to be watchful of what you may be signing into or whatever it is, you know, having awareness about what you're doing and listening to intuition, but also not being too jaded to like miss an opportunity as well. I find that something that I think about a lot is like, yep, am I being jaded here? Like, or am I, you know, and so that's an extra level of kind of complexity that when these things get presented, you're like, oh, am I just being old and tired?
That's a great, I'm learning so much from you. I definitely needed to hear that around the jade, because sometimes an opportunity can come and you're like, I don't know about that. But then it's also probably a defense mechanism from, you know, previous bad experiences. But then going back to, as you said, your intuition. Oh, teach me more. You've got all the goods. I want to tie up a few points and then we'll talk about your EP, Gold, which is in the episode notes, everyone. I just want to know how, I believed you discovered guitar at 14, and then did you first perform at the songwriting workshop, or was that a little bit later?
Yeah. So that was a bit later. So I started playing guitar when I was about 14, started getting lessons and whatnot. And then it wasn't until kind of 17 that I had signed up for a songwriting workshop, which is what I thought it was. And turns out it was a showcase in front of hundreds of people on a big stage. And the night before I wrote my first song, and no one had ever heard me sing before. And I just got up and I did it. And the videos are so funny because I sound horrible. Like it's just me talking basically. It's like da 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 da. Like it's not singing. It's hardly singing. But my family on the like handy cam are just all bawling their eyes out. And yeah, that really lit the spark that day. It was like, oh, this feel like all these people are clapping. This feels amazing. Yeah. So that's how it all kind of kicked off. And then it was like, you know, I was like, okay, right. Well, I've got to learn how to sing. Right.
So you hadn't done singing. It was just purely guitar. Holy crap. Your voice is so good. That's crazy.
Well, yeah, it was 17 that I started singing. And then I was playing gigs by 18. And then I'm 25 now. And it's only the last kind of 2 years that I've really been doing singing lessons.
That
really
blows my mind.
Yeah.
Is it crazy to see the growth also? Like, I don't know if you ever look back at the Steadicam.
Oh, man. Because particularly one of the first singles of this EP was a song called Don't Stop Dreaming.
Yeah.
And so the kind of content around that as well, like when we we're promoting the song, was like, you know, looking back at where I'd started from not that many years prior. And I was like, holy smokes, like that. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
And so when you were growing up at school, what was your goal? Was your goal to be a guitarist? Was there like singing even in the
No, I was going to
mind?
play centre half back for North Melbourne.
Oh, so you were, I thought you were playing basketball. Okay.
Yeah,
So it's
basketball.
basketball.
I was going to play NBA for Chicago and, you know, all these
Yeah.
things. But no, kind of music was just there because I just had a guitar and I could do it. But I remember not like when I was 14, I remember like I hadn't found what I was looking something to really like hook me. And then I discovered open tunings, which on the guitar is like I know you had Steph Strings
Yeah.
on the
How
podcast.
great is she?
And you know, the way Steph plays is in open tunings, and like John Butler and these kind of this Australian roots music thing. And it came from kind of, well, it was back in the olden day blues music, but Jeff Lang was a big one in Australia that really showed a lot of people. And so once I discovered open tuning, I was like hooked, like hook, line and sinker. And I was just became addicted to just this open tuning, shredding kind of vibe. And yeah, so that probably happened about 15, 16. And I remember taking these open tuning songs to my guitar teacher, who, wonderful man, showed me so many amazing things, but I was a bit tired of playing AC/DC and Green Day.
And that's what I used to play.
Yeah. And so when I took him Ocean by John Butler, he was like, another one of these ones, righto. You know, he's like, why can't you just, you know, he was great. And he really showed me ways to use that. But yeah, then I was hooked. I was hooked.
That's amazing. And I hope you've mentioned that you've never met Steph. I'm sure Pat can connect you because I think you guys need to do
it's so funny. Like all my partners met Steph in Europe. Like so many people around, and I'm like, I just want to like have a jam. I just want to play guitar with her. Like, yeah, I'm a big fan. So it'd be pretty cool.
Same. Can I assume someone I won't get into to all of it, but I'm sure like Pat could organize that because he.
Yeah, I like absolutely.
I don't know how it works.
The guy who helps me do front of house, like my sound and everything. He does sound for Steph as well and building stuff. Like we're connected in so many ways.
Oh my God.
Like I know her management. I know her. Yeah, it's a bit much how I'm like.
Never come
it's so funny that we've never. Yeah, I played a show with the Pierce Brothers. The next night, Steph played a show with the Pierce Brothers. Like. Yeah, we just haven't crossed paths yet.
That's so
which
funny.
Is funny.
Yeah.
It's a small scene, the folk world, but yeah,
hilarious. You guys will meet. You'll do you'll collab together. I want to type a few points. You mentioned "Don't Stop Dreaming." I love the song as well, which is in your new EP as well. And you mentioned that it's kind of like, I don't have quite the wording, but it's a song to kind of like pick you up because as we said before, the industry can be quite tough. It's not always linear where you think it might be always just going up. Sometimes you might not have work. You deal with people where, you know, money and business and deals. Is that where this song came about?
Yeah. That song for me came from a time where I was like pretty exhausted and I was like, had been touring pretty hard for like good 12 months.
Whoa.
And I was kind of, the tour then ended. And I was like, I don't know what am I doing now? Like, it feels like my career's about to stop, all this kind of stuff. And that song was like, oh, no, just remember what, 16-year-old, 17-year-old Flynn in his bedroom playing 16-year-old Flynn in his bedroom, 16-year-old Flynn in his bedroom playing, his guitar as hard as he possibly can. And so that's where the kind of song came from, is like, just being like, forget all the industry shit. Just enjoy what you do and be playful.
Is it two things, like a pump up song for you, like maybe when the day's not going well, and two, is it something that you reflect on and listen to just when maybe things aren't going perfectly?
Yeah, both. I think it's definitely sits in both worlds, and I play it like third, oh, what is it, second or third song in the set usually, and particularly maybe I'm the first two songs I'm kind of maybe I haven't like got into the set yet, but whenever I play that song I'm like locked in. I'm like, all right, you're cooking now, because it's, the song itself musically playing kick drum guitar tambourine all at once,
I didn't realize.
doing the like downs drum thing really fast as well, like you have to be locked in, and then it's just so fun, and you can see it like creates an energy in the room, and I feed off that. So it's great.
How good is it that that's just something that can just spark and get you straight into it as well? That is so brilliant. And also, you probably played this a lot, also practiced a lot, and you still have the same joy. That's when you know you're onto something.
And it's funny, I think about like songs kind of take on new meanings as you play them, and the reason why you wrote it maybe now isn't why I feel that song still so deeply. I actually went to a primary school last year to play their end of year concert because they'd rang up.
Listen to my notes, yeah.
Yeah, they emailed me and were like, would you come and teach us the song so we can play it at the end of year concert? And I was like, I'll play it with you. Like, let's go. So,
wow.
Yeah. So I drove to this tiny little town in South Australia, and
just South Australia.
Yeah. Drove to South Australia, and the joy that I got from that experience, like selfishly, was just like, I was like, this is what music's about. And I caught up with the music teacher last weekend at the festival, and they were saying like, oh, we've seen such a like uptake in kids just like coming in at lunchtime and playing the drums, and like they were all like, did you hear Flynn's new song Bones? Like, and I was like, oh my God, like that fills my cup. Like that, wow.
That is incredible. And also that they discovered the song is, I'm sure it means a lot to you as well. And then also to reach out to you and knowing, as you said, to inspire. That's crazy.
Yeah.
And you drove there.
Yeah, I just drove there and did one rehearsal day, and then the next day, or like a month later, we did the show, and it was amazing. And they like set up a little interview situation, and it was amazing. They like really leaned in. I like featured in their weekly newsletter or something for the class. And
you should frame that. You have to keep that.
Yeah. And we did like an interview, and I was like, how long is the interview? Should I give long answers, short answers? And they just like, this is like 8-year-olds, and they're like, just answer the question, mate. And I'm like, yeah, yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
Does that, I know you said, is that also another way that inspires you? As you said, it's one thing to produce music to inspire people, but seeing that you actually have inspired people, especially young people as well, that's a crazy awesome feeling.
Yeah, there's a guy called Tom Richardson, who is like, when I was growing up, he was the guy from Warrnambool who had traveled the world to play his music, and he was amazing. And he would come into our school and do songwriting workshops and all these kind of things. And I remember the feeling, the feeling that it gave me of that inspiration. And it was really hard for me to go to the school and feel like I was doing that, because I was like, well, no one could ever, I couldn't impact someone as much as, Tom had impacted me. But then the teacher kind of saying, hey, this was the direct cause and effect of what you going to the school and doing this is this is the result, is that kids are playing more music. And I was like, oh, well, okay, maybe, yeah, wow.
Oh, that's such I'm so happy that you did that and you got that as well. And hopefully you'll go back now that Gold's out. How are you feeling now that it's out? It's quite the accomplishment. What inspired it?
Yeah, a lot of them, songs. They like Shadows is talking about my childhood. I wrote a lot with a friend of mine called Cooper Lower, and he's a great writer, and he has spent a lot of time in Europe and a lot of time in London, and he's also from where I'm from, and we collaborated a lot on this record because basically I signed to the ABC
Yeah, I saw
and
that.
had to make, well, like, you sign to the ABC and then you've got a body of music to make, to put out. And I didn't have enough songs. I was like, oh, holy, what? I need to, I need to get some songs together. And so I called Cooper and he came down to my house. My parents go away over Christmas holidays, and we kind of decked out mum and dad's place for like 2 weeks and wrote a bunch of these songs. And so a lot of the writing got done there. And, I think because we were in my family home, Shadows for me is a song that, like, a song about young Flynn again, which there's a direct kind of line in the song, which is referencing when I was little, I used to sleep across the hallway from my parents' bedroom. All us brothers, 2 other brothers, we were in the one room across the hallway, and I would get scared in the night, nightmares or whatever, and I'd get up and I'd go to run across the hallway and jump in bed with mum and dad. But I used to think there was a bear that patrolled the hallway. And so I'd have to stand there and wait for the bear to pass before I could run through and jump in the middle, in between mum and dad. And so when we were writing these songs, I was telling Cooper these stories and thinking about that. And it became such a part of the music. And so it felt really fun and exciting, and turning these stories into this music.
And great that you had someone, we talked about collaboration as well, because perhaps if you had the wrong collaborator who could have said, that's stupid, I don't want to hear it, or whatever, that's not going to work. But you had a good collaborating buddy where they could hear the story and be like, let's, work together.
Yeah. And someone who like, we'd spent a lot of time not collaborating, but being really involved in each other's projects, just through giving feedback on songs. So we really knew he really knew what I was trying to achieve as well. And he's, I think, one of the great songwriters. I'm just so excited for when he finally gets that song that, he gets all that recognition. And it might not be his song, but someone he writes for someone else or whatever it is. But in saying, he just kind of knew what we were going for, and he knew me. And yeah, it was amazing. It was we think back to that time and we'd sometimes talk about it, because we'd write a song and then we'd go out and play cricket in the front yard.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. Because sometimes
amazing.
You can't be in the room all day doing everything. You need to get out, and then you can actually
pulling
play
your hair out. You're like, what's this? We just need one more line. Like, we just need one more line for this song. And we just go, well, should we just go, bowl a plastic ball at each other as hard as we possibly can for half an hour? And yeah.
He's like, you bent your arm, I don't care.
Yeah. So, 6 and out. Well, we were playing that. Yeah. It was really fun.
Amazing. And now that it's out, I know I asked before, what is that feeling like? You put in blood, sweat and tears and cricket balls, all of these things. How does it feel to have this quality body of work out?
Yeah, it's a feeling of like, it's not mine anymore. And so it's almost like that's done now or something. And there's obviously now all got to tour it, and I'm really excited for that, and I've got to promote it, and I'm really excited to do that. But there's a feeling of like, it was mine. I held it so close to my chest and showed it to like some people and close friends and family or whatever. But then now it's just completely out, and it's just like, it was such a long build up to releasing music, and now it's out, and it's just like, I feel like a weight off my shoulders, and I just feel quite free. And I actually have, over the weekend, felt really inspired to write new stuff now, which is really cool.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like, I was saying this to my label manager, and she was like, well, Flynn, hang on, like it's just come out, like chill out, mate. Like we've got a lot of work to do still. And I'm like, yeah, I'm up for the work, but I'm also right now feeling really inspired to write new songs. And she's like, great, I can't wait to hear them. So that's the feeling that I have. And I think too, like touching on my vocals and whatnot, like this vocally I'm really pumped with. Like I went to new levels. I'd been working really, really hard and got to kind of show off what I've been working on, which, some people might not be able to hear, but for me, I hear it and I go, it's like a actually stamp in time of like, oh, you've like put the work in for the last couple of years to really push your vocals to where you want them to be. Like Shadows is the highest note I've ever sung. The top note in Shadows, it doesn't sound like that high. It kind of feels a bit natural. It is natural. But I couldn't, before recording that song, I had never sung that note before, like got to that note. Awesome. And the producer was like, we need to be able to hit that note. And I go, oh, that's out of my range. I can't do that. Took it back to my singing teacher. I was like, so I got to hit this note. And my singing teacher, Heidi, was like, you can't sing that high. And I was like, well, Edwin and Joel said, you got to sing that. I got to sing that note. And she went, righto. So we got to work and like, I was able to sing the note and I sing it live now, which feels amazing.
So great. And also great that you got a teacher that can bring that out in you. Steph Strings is of the belief, because she said she wasn't the best singer. I reckon she was a good singer, but she wasn't the best singer beforehand, and then she's taught herself how to sing. Can everyone sing if they have the right guidance to a degree?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, you actually... Okay.
Yeah,
I have the worst voice on the planet.
No, but
I want to know how to sing.
I look at like different cultures around the world where like singing is just a thing that you do. And like here it's different, it's different in the sense that like it's songs on the radio that you sing. But like, I think, there's pockets in the world that people just sing and no one's like, oh, they're a bad singer or they're a good singer. It's just you sing. So I kind of think, also, I didn't think I could sing. And I've just worked my ass off and I think now I can sing.
But if you were to sing a note at that stage when you're 17, would people be like, oh, his voice is okay? Or would they be like, oi, this is not a good voice?
Nah, I don't think so.
Okay.
Like if I was to watch myself on stage as a 17-year-old.
Yeah, but you have a really good voice now and probably then as well. So that's like...
Well, tone is something else. Like whether you like the tone or you don't like the tone. But in terms of actually singing, they're muscles. So if you train your muscles,
I really want to know how to sing. My mum is the nicest person in the world. Apparently I used to sing in the shower and she was like, Michael, honey, singing's not your jam. So, but I do know at this stage, my voice, I wouldn't be able to hold a note, but I'd love to be able to sing. That's like, if I could gain any skill in the world, it would be able to sing.
I think too, there's like picking something that's singable for you as well is also
nothing. It would be like Baba Black Sheep or something.
I'll give you
had a little
I'll send you my very first song that's practically just talking. It's really just spoken word.
I really think that you probably had a good voice and you've just improved it massively. But anyway, we'll continue this because I do want to know how to sing. And you also got a tour coming up as well. Can you tell us a little bit about it? And then you mentioned potentially overseas as well. If I'm allowed to know that.
Yeah. So the next few months up until May is shows almost every weekend. I'm starting in Warrnambool, which is my hometown, and then there's a festival, and then I go to Queensland, I go to New South Wales, I go to South Australia. I've got a Canberra show. So there's, it's 15 or 16 shows around the country. And, I've been touring with people like the Dreggs and the Pierce Brothers and Matt Hansen and all these amazing artists for the last couple of years. And now I'm kind of going back to the spots that I'd open these massive shows and, putting on my own show. So I'm really excited at for that. Yeah.
That's so cool. And to learn from all these people and now you get to do it, solo, that's such a great accomplishment.
Yeah. I think of it as like touring with someone and being the opening act is kind of like an apprenticeship. You just get to watch them, like the Pierce Brothers, hold the crowd in the palm of their hands.
Yeah, they
for
look
90
great,
minutes. And I just think it's the ultimate apprenticeship.
That's so great. You've learned from some masters. Before we go, any other, how can people follow you? Any other information about Gold? Anything else I may have missed?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm on socials. So I'm on all the platforms, trying to get that song to share it to lots of people. And, so yeah, I'm on socials and I'm touring. I'm playing in the UK in May as well, a festival called Dot to Dot, and then we're working on some other shows as well. So that's going to be my first international festival. I'm also playing in China later this year.
Oh,
which it'll be fine to say. I'm pretty sure it's fine to say. I'm pretty sure it's announced. Yeah, that's great. But so 2 festivals in China, and that's going to be wild.
Amazing. You are living the dream. You are very inspiring and extremely mature. And I've learned a lot. I really enjoyed this chat. And yeah, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me on.
I love how Flynn chose to step into busking. It's uncomfortable, you're exposed, you face silence, unpredictable people, and there's nowhere to hide. But instead of waiting for the perfect opportunity, Flynn saw it for what it really was, a training ground, a place to sharpen his craft, build confidence, and learn how to truly connect with people. He didn't wait for the gigs, he got ready for them. And that's what I love about this. Whether you're a musician or not, it's so easy to focus on the outcome, the job, the stage, the big break. But Flynn flipped that. Instead of chasing the gigs themselves, he focused on becoming game ready, sharpening his skills, getting the reps in, and putting himself in situations where he could grow and improve. And by doing that, he trusted the rest would follow, that he'd be seen, that the opportunities would come, and when they did, he'd be ready. Flynn reminds us that sometimes the best opportunities come when we don't follow a straight path, we follow that feeling inside of us, and there's real beauty and growth and stepping into different environments. So I'll leave you with this epic quote. Get so good, they can't ignore you. Steve Martin. Thank you for listening to the Funny and Failure podcast, exploring the deeper side of comedy and life.